Welcome back to Sports Blitz Live. Luke Robinson here. Got a great guest with us tonight. Listen, if you're watching our show, you might, hopefully you're DVRing the Roll Tide War Eagle documentary that's going to be on ESPN. It's going on probably about right now, and I've got one of the creators of that documentary, Mr. Martin Kotabashian. Martin, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, listen, thank you for being with us. We certainly do appreciate it. I got one question for you, Martin. How crazy are we here in Alabama?
Well, it depends on how you define crazy. If crazy means passionate, dedicated, supporting something that's beloved and rooted in you since you're a child and born into, then, crazy doesn't hold a lot of weight. If crazy is defined by things I've heard on the Paul Feinbaum show or every single car in the state having an Alabama or Auburn sticker and houndstooth this and tiger that, then, yeah, you guys are pretty crazy, but it's fun.
Compare the Alabama-Auburn rivalry with some of the other national rivalries. Yankees, Red Sox, Lakers, Celtics, Ohio State versus Michigan. I know all of those are pretty big nationally, and we're pretty myopic here in this state, as you probably found out. I mean, we are concerned about the state of Alabama, what's going on with our two football programs, and that's about it. So we've always been a little biased, but what do you think? How do you think our rivalry stacks up with those?
I think the thing that stands out the most to me, despite the fact that the state doesn't have a lot of other professional sports to root for, there may not be a ton of stuff to do in the state of Alabama in terms of extracurricular activities. I think what sets this rivalry apart is that both sides win. Both sides beat each other. Now, I'm not saying that Auburn has as many national titles. I realize they don't. But both sides win this game that they play against each other. So if I'm talking about a rivalry and I'm playing my brother or my stepbrother, or however you want to view it, and he wins the majority of the time, but he only has 6 or 7 or 8 more wins than I do, then that's a true rivalry because you don't know who's going to win the next time. And I think with the recent developments in the last couple of years and since '81, that there's been a balance of transfer in terms of, hey, Big Brother doesn't just win every time, and Little Brother may surprise you once in a while. And I think that goes a long way to distinguish this rivalry amongst some of the other rivalries across the country.
Okay, when you finished your documentary and it's been edited and you sit down and you watch it for the first time, what did you walk away thinking?
I was like, how in the world did a film about one of the most venomous, if not the most venomous, heated, hated rivalry be so funny? And I don't mean funny as in making fun or looking down or laughing at the people of Alabama. It really isn't that. Because when you look at the subjects from the grassroots individuals that we interviewed in the film that are the mixed married couples to the iconic players like Bo Jackson and Sean Alexander to the coaches, Gene Stallings, Pat Dye. We got the Cam Newtons, the Mark Ingrams. They're just funny people. And the things they say about the rivalry get a chuckle out of you. And it's what I realize is this is an entertaining film, not because it's my own. And I'm not a huge college football expert. I wouldn't claim to be. But diving into it, I did not think that I would get such a rush from, getting a history lesson, seeing what happened the last 2 years in terms of triumphs on the field on both sides, and come away feeling, happy and laughing. Now, it does take a twisted turn in the poisoning of the trees and the alleged tree poisoner, but I think he's not, this film isn't about him. It's just, the culmination of where this rivalry recently went. And then to see, as you're getting these doses of humor and twists and, oh my God, and scratch your head moments, you literally have a force of Mother Nature, a historic storm, rip through and, just debilitate and cripple a town and states all across the entire country in the South. And seeing how that brought both sides together, obviously not a laughing matter, but to see that, hey, they can come together and put football second and your neighbor first is really just an amazing redemptive quality that I don't think the people in the state of Alabama thought this story would take. And, but at the end of the day, that chuckle comes back because it's, hey, we'll help you build your house, but we're going to kick your butt in that next Iron Bowl. And I thought that was extraordinary. You couldn't script that.
Okay, so you say that you don't know much about college football, but so how much of this documentary was inspired by the fact that Alabama and Auburn have won back-to-back national championships? I mean, was this something that you would have taken on without the success of the two programs recently? Because quite honestly, and I don't mean this as a shot at you or ESPN or anybody else, the rivalry is like this all the time regardless. Neither team has to be good. I think that both teams happen to be good right now, and I wonder if that was the inspiration for this documentary.
I think you make a great point. One thing that is very evident to me is that the game happens one day a year. The rivalry continues the rest of the 364. That talks about that. Trump talks about Christmas vacation. And the Iron Bowl is more important than Thanksgiving dinner. I get it. I see it. And I heard it. I don't have to be an expert. And all I do in my job, that's the beauty of my job. I inject myself in worlds that I don't know. But that makes you more of a student, and you learn very quickly that this is the number one thing on these people's minds 24/7, 365. Now, this film does not get made, in my opinion, if both sides don't have the identical seasons, if you will, the Iron Bowl win, the national championship, the Heisman Trophy win in back-to-back years. Then on top of that, I think you could possibly do it if it didn't take the turn in the trees and the tornadoes and whatnot. I think you could. I'm not quite convinced of that yet. I'm just being honest. But in terms of outside of Sports Center talk, oh, wow, look where what these two schools accomplished for the state in the last 2 years, that's just remarkable. It's never been done before. The other elements just added a layer that is compelling, that possibly draws in the outside, the outside world, people outside of Alabama, that they go, wow, it's really cool that this happened in the state. My gosh, I can't believe it went to this extreme. And oh my gosh, look, they came together, and even they realized that life and death is more important than football. That's my honest assessment.
Okay, in the interest of fairness, I want you to give me the most intriguing interview from both sides, both an Alabama guy and an Auburn guy.
Oh, wow. Look, I would be, getting Cam Newton to agree to sit down and knowing no deals made, there was no deals made saying, Cam, you're going to sit down and we're just going to talk about the 2010 comeback game. You know what I mean? It was, Cam, you're going to sit down and we're going to ask you questions surrounding the investigation. And at that time, Auburn hadn't been cleared of his recruitment. So the fact that he sat down and gave us the opportunity to ask him those questions, those hard questions, I thought was, it said a lot about him, and you'll see in the movie, I don't want to give it away too much, about how he answers, the one question without turning it into an interrogation. This film isn't just about, it's not the Cam Newton documentary, it's not the Harvey Updike documentary, it's not the Carson Tinker documentary, it's everything. And I think people will get glimpses of things that they've heard about. They heard about Take the Money and Run being played and probably wondered, hey, did Cam hear that? Or what was his reaction to it? Has anyone straight up asked him, hey, what did you know about the stuff that went on, even though you claim you don't know, or your dad says you didn't know anything about it? No one's really sat him down and asked him those questions. So I would say that, and the novelty of being able to sit down with Bo Jackson, the greatest video game avatar in the history of avatars, were two of the more compelling aspects on the Auburn side. It's Bo Jackson, On the Alabama side, man, it's so tough. There's so many good voices. Look, it's hard not to sit there and watch you know, Gene Stallings take you through the history, tornadoes, Harvey up, just take you through everything, and realize that you only have so many bites that you can pick to fit into an hour film. This could have been a 2-hour film, but it was just the nostalgia for me to sit down. Man, here's the guy that's, you know, Alabama folks compare to Bear Bryant, and he's adamantly saying that I'm not Bear Bryant. And to really just sit there and hear the lore and his drawl and this and that, but to be sit in a room with him, those are the kinds of interviews to me, even not growing up in Alabama, that bring back the sense of nostalgia and the novelty of why I do what I do. So again, I don't want to cut anybody short. I mean, Nick Saban gave us his time. Mark Ingram gave us his time. There's so many guys on both sides. I just take great pride in feeling that we did a great job to show both sides, interview the equal amounts of guys on each side, and really get a sense of the rivalry from both sides and not feel biased towards one or the other.
Okay, Martin, I know that you showed the film, I think it was last week, and I think it was at the Alabama Theater in Birmingham. Did you have anybody come to you and say, oh, that had such an Auburn slant, or oh, that was way too Alabama friendly?
I'm so glad you asked that. I didn't get stabbed walking out of there or punched or have a beer thrown on me or anything. You know, I even started off addressing the crowd saying, you know, if one more person asks me, I mean, obviously the Auburn side, why the film's Roll Tide, War Eagle and not War Eagle, Roll Tide, I swear I'm going to freak out here. But, you know, alphabetical order doesn't flow in that state. It just kind of rolls off the tongue a little better. Roll Tide, War Eagle. I suppose a War Eagle, Roll Tide. But people came up to me after the film, and the looks on their face. I had a woman who worked with the relief efforts in the tornado. It looked like she had been crying, and said, "Thank you very much for representing Tuscaloosa and what happened there." I mean, that had nothing to do with football. I had so many people. I mean, there were members from the SEC there. There's Alabama fans, Auburn fans, and I'm not. This is all my children. Not one person came to me and said, "Man, how could you?" That doesn't mean people walked out and not feeling that way, but not one person came to me and said that was too Alabama bias or that was too Auburn bias. And remember, 2009 comes to 2010, so you got to sit through Alabama successes before you get to Auburn's, but not one person came and said that. And there was a review. I try to stay away from the reviews until it airs, but there was one review and someone tweeted it or sent it to me, and I believe it was the War Eagle, the War blogger, I think it was.
The War Bloggle, I think it is.
Yeah, and it was it actually really made me feel awesome, because it was my job to be as objective as I can, to represent both sides, and I think the harshest criticism was us, not necessarily, maybe not diving too much into how Paul Feinbaum's show affects the rivalry. Well, we tried to do the whole film with Paul Feinbaum strung throughout to kind of show, hey, this is where the battleground is, 364, well, I guess you could say 365 days out of the year. And if that was the harshest criticism, and we touch on it, I can live with that, because I just wanted to be balanced and fair, and I really think we accomplished that. And that's 2,000 people at that premiere, by the way.
Wow. I mean, look, I knew it would get that kind of reception, honestly, and football is king in this state. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Martin, will you make it down to the Iron Bowl this year?
Oh, man, I would love to. I mean, I really would. I've given up so much time to putting this film together, and, something that doesn't go in the box score is the turnaround. This film was greenlit in June, basically started shooting in July, put out the first cut in the first week of September. So people in radio can understand that turnaround, people in TV, people out there don't really care or not necessarily understand or have to care. But it was a sacrifice by my family to just let me focus and do this while not giving up my day job with ESPN as an E60 senior producer, which is a show I work on daily. It was a real grind. So as much as I'd love to peel away and go to this game and really feel it, it might have to be a future one. And I got a bunch of invites, so it wasn't a lack of the schools not wanting us to take part, but might have to be the following year.
Well, Martin, I'll tell you right now.
I won't make a prediction.
Yeah, I don't want you to. Listen, I mean, look, you've gotten non-stabbed so far. Let's not go ahead and get you stabbed right here before the premiere. Well, listen, Martin, thank you so much for being with us. And I'll tell you, here at Sports Blitz, we don't necessarily have a skybox, but usually we can get into the game. It might be in the upper deck. And if you ever want to go to an Iron Bowl, let us know and we'll hook you up.
That means so much to me. I really appreciate it. I think the people of Alabama have been through so much, on and off the field, and so many hospitable people. And, the last word I would use to describe the folks of Alabama is crazy. I think the first word I would describe is passionate. And, hey, I just got my PPR today, and I was rated as passionate. So if you guys are crazy, I'm crazy, but I like to call us passionate.
Yeah, but crazy's kind of fun sometimes, Martin.
Of course it's fun. Life's short.
That's right. You got to be crazy every now and again. Well, listen, buddy, thanks so much for being with us. Can't wait to watch it when I get home and it's on my DVR.
All right, fantastic. I appreciate it.
All right, that was Martin Kotabashian, who joins us from ESPN. Of course, they're going to have the fantastic documentary tomorrow night. Certainly can't wait to see it tomorrow night. It's going to be so much fun. Well, thanks so much for being with us at Sports Blitz Live. We'll be back in just a second.